There is a place on this earth that doesn't feel like it belongs to this world. A place where the clouds don't pass overhead. They wrap around you, move through you, breathe with you. Where the ocean doesn't just border the land, it owns it. Where silence has a sound, and that sound is the wind carving its name into everything it touches. That place is the Faroe Islands. And once it finds you, it never lets you go. 18 islands, scattered like ancient stones thrown by a giant's hand into the North Atlantic, sitting halfway between Norway and Iceland, further from mainland Europe than most people can point to on a map. Yet somehow, impossibly, these islands feel like the center of everything, like the world began here, in this raw and impossible beauty, and simply forgot to tell anyone. The first thing that strikes you is the green, not the polished, manicured green of a park or a golf course. This is a wild, violent, almost angry green. Grass that clings to vertical cliffsides as if defying gravity out of sheer stubbornness. Hillsides so steep and so intensely colored that they look painted by someone who had never been told the word subtlety. And above it all, layers of cloud and mist rolling in from the sea like slow theater, transforming the same mountain 10 times in a single afternoon. You land at Vágar Airport, and the runway ends at the edge of a fjord. Literally. You touch down, and you look out the window, and there is nothing but dark water ahead of you. And for just one breathless second, you wonder if the pilot knows something you don't. Welcome to the Faroe Islands. Normal physics may not apply. Drive out of the airport, and within minutes, you are inside a landscape that feels genuinely ancient. The roads wind through valleys where waterfalls pour off cliff tops and dissolve into mist before they reach the ground. Where sheep, more sheep than people, always more sheep than people, graze at angles that should be physically impossible. Where tiny villages of colored wooden houses with grass-covered roofs sit tucked into hillsides like they grew there naturally, like they are part of the rock itself. Those grass roofs are not decoration. They are not quaint. They are one of the most intelligent pieces of architecture in human history. For centuries, Faroe's builders understood that the best insulation in the world was already right beneath their feet. Turf roofs regulate temperature, absorb rain, and blend the man-made into the natural with a kind of unconscious genius that modern architects travel thousands of miles to study. Standing in a village like Sørvágsvatn or Kirkjubøur, looking at these ancient farmhouses, you realize you are not looking at history. You are standing inside it. Kirkjubøur deserves a moment of stillness. It sits on the southwestern shore of Streymoy, the largest island, and it has been continuously inhabited for over 1,000 years. 1,000 years. The same families, generation after generation, working the same land, looking out at the same water, carrying the same stories forward through time. The ruins of Magnus Cathedral stand there, never finished, never destroyed, just quietly enduring. Next to it, a farmhouse that has been home to the same family, the Patterson family, for over 400 years, the oldest inhabited wooden house in the world. You can knock on the door, someone will answer. That is the Faroe Islands. History is not behind glass here. It is alive, breathing, answering the door. Take a boat out into the fjords on a clear day, and you begin to understand something about scale that photographs can never communicate. The cliffs rise out of the water at heights that make your neck ache to look up at. Sheer faces of basalt, layered in horizontal bands of black and gray, carved over millions of years by forces that have no interest in human timelines. Sea caves swallow the ocean with deep, booming sighs. Colonies of puffins, thousands of them, nest in the cliff tops, launching themselves into the air in bright, comical bursts of color, utterly indifferent to your presence. The puffins. You cannot talk about the Faroes without talking about the puffins. They arrive each spring in their hundreds of thousands to breed in the clifftop colonies, and they are absurd and magnificent and somehow perfectly suited to this place. Round little bodies, wings that seem slightly too small, that extraordinary painted beak, orange and yellow and red, vivid as a tropical bird dropped into the middle of the North Atlantic. They dive for fish with an athletic precision that belies their clownish appearance. And they look at you, when you get close enough, with an expression of such profound suspicion that you find yourself apologizing for existing. Climb to the summit of Sørvágsvatn Lake and you encounter another impossibility. This is a lake that appears, from a certain vantage point on the cliffside, to be floating above the ocean. An optical illusion created by the angle of the cliff and the elevation of the water. The lake sits higher than the sea below, and from the right position, they seem to occupy the same vertical plane, with the lake hanging there in the sky, like something from a dream. People come from all over the world just to stand in that one spot, just to look at that one view, just to feel what it is like to stand inside an image that looks too beautiful to be real. And that is a feeling you have constantly here. The persistent low-grade disbelief that what you are seeing is real. The sense that at any moment the mist will clear and reveal a green screen, a studio, some kind of trick. But the wind keeps hitting you. The cold salt air keeps filling your lungs. The grass is wet under your boots. The sheep are ignoring you with magnificent indifference. This is real. All of this is real. Gássadalur is a village of around 20 people. 20. It sits in a bowl of green hillside, accessible until 2004 only by foot over a mountain pass, completely cut off from the rest of the island by sheer geography. And just beyond its edge, the Múlafossur waterfall drops 200 feet off a cliff top and plunges into the sea far below. Stand at the edge and watch the water fall and feel the wind push back against it, bending the waterfall sideways, making it seem to hang and float. Behind you, the village. Ahead of you, the Atlantic. Above you, everything. In the capital, Tórshavn, the world's smallest capital city, time moves differently. The old town, Tinganes, sits on a small peninsula stretching into the harbor. Its rows of black wooden buildings with red doors and grass roofs packed tightly together like a secret the city is keeping from the rest of itself. The Lagting, the Faroese parliament, one of the oldest parliaments in the world, still meets here. Still deliberates here, in buildings that have watched the harbor fill and empty for centuries. The Faroes people carry something that is hard to name but impossible to miss, a kind of self-possession. A quiet confidence that comes from living with extreme nature, from depending on the sea and the weather and the land in ways that most of the modern world has forgotten entirely. They are warm without being effusive, generous without performance, proud in the way that people are proud when their pride is grounded in something real. In the fishing boats their grandfathers built, in the songs they still sing at midsummer, in the language they have fought to protect, a language descended from Old Norse, spoken by only 80,000 people on Earth and no less vital for it. The food here is an extension of that same honest relationship with the land and the sea. Skerpikjot, wind-dried mutton, hung in traditional wooden sheds called shalur, cured by the Faroes' wind and salt air for months until it becomes something dense and complex and deeply itself. Rest, fermented lamb, an acquired taste that the Faroes will tell you with a smile is not for everyone, but that carries in it the whole history of a people who could not afford to waste anything, who turned necessity into art. Fresh fish pulled from waters so clean and cold they barely need cooking. Lamb from sheep that have spent their entire lives on open hillside, eating wild herbs and salt grass, tasting of everything around them. There is a restaurant in Tórshavn called Cox that for years held a Michelin star, and that does something remarkable. It takes these ancient pharaohs' preservation techniques, the fermentation, the wind drying, the curing, and it transforms them through a contemporary lens into something that feels simultaneously of this place and entirely new. You eat there, and you understand that tradition and innovation are not opposites, that the most profound creativity comes from deep-rootedness, from knowing exactly where you come from. The light here in summer does something extraordinary. The Faroes sit at 62 degrees north, and in June the sun barely sets. The sky goes through shades of gold and pink and deepest blue, and then climbs back toward light without ever fully surrendering to darkness. The horizon glows. The fjords reflect it. The grass catches it and holds it in a kind of luminous stillness. You stand outside at midnight, and the world is softly, inexplicably lit, and everything that felt slightly unreal about this place becomes completely, perfectly unreal. And you stop trying to explain it, and you just let it be what it is. There are moments in travel, rare moments, when a place stops being a destination and becomes an experience of pure presence.